If I take the Celsius mean and add to that 273.5, I would have 35.1 plus 273.15, which would give me 308.25. Now we see that that is very close to the mean for Kelvin. The mean for Kelvin was 308.3, but we can explain that difference by the rounding that we performed. Here we're rounded to 2 decimal places, but when we reported our mean, we rounded to 1. Let's also note that if we take the median for Celsius and add to that 273.15, we're going to find 35 plus 273.15, which gives us 308.15. And we note that the median, as reported by StatCrunch, was 308.2. And again, this difference can be explained by the rounding. Let's also notice that the standard deviation for Celsius plus 0 was the same as the standard deviation for Kelvin. All of this is an exhibition of the general rules that we can write for how transformations affect measures of data sets. If we add a constant to all values of a data set, the mean and median increase by that constant. Now, what is also interesting is that the standard deviations were unaffected. And that's always going to be the case whenever we add a constant to all values of a data set, because the gaps remain the same. We added the same amount to each value, so the gaps between the data values are the same. If we look at the first 2 entries for Celsius, we see 0 and 8. If we look at the first 2 entries for Kelvin, we see 273.15 and 281.15. It's still a gap of 8. And moving on, the next gap is 2. The next gap is 4. So the deviations from the mean remain the same. So the standard deviations will be the same. So we can say the standard deviations are unaffected. So this is a rule or a set of rules that we can count on for those particular transformations. But let's look at what happens when there's a little bit more to it. Here we are multiplying 9/5 and then adding 32. And we'll find that same difference then with the means. If we take and multiply the mean for Celsius by 9/5 and add 32 to that, we'll find the mean for Fahrenheit. The 32 we can account for using this other rule over here. The 9/5 is a similar rule for multiplication. And so we have a set of rules for multiplication, and those are that if we multiply a data set by a constant, the resulting mean, median, and standard deviation are multiplied by the same constant.